Hello, Das. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, PC. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, I thought today we have this session. It's been basically to touch base on one of the very important topic nowadays, Web3 and blockchain. There are a lot of people, those who have misunderstanding or maybe having very uh, less knowledge about this, and getting to hear from different channel, they get confused, and especially me also, if you ask me right now, with getting knowledge from reels, getting knowledge from some YouTube channel, getting knowledge from some of my friends and all. It is very difficult. I kind of I don't even know the basics about it, what exactly it is, how, why it is useful and all. So I thought, you being a person who is into this topic and been reading about it, learning about this, thought of having this session and trying to understand from your point of view, which for a common person, let's say, who is not technically sound and all, how who can relate to this topic and maybe find different ways of how they can build their life, or let's say their business and all, easier. So that is something which we thought, okay, let's have that as a topic today, and we are here from you to get more insight and knowledge on this topic.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a great pleasure for me. I've been looking to do this for a long time, and there is a lot of misconceptions about blockchain, crypto, and unfortunately, there's a lot of bad light on crypto for a lot of reasons, and blockchain, of course. So my attempt here is to bring clarity to some of those topics. I may be a little biased towards blockchain because I'm very passionate about it. So you can keep me honest here and just make sure that I'm not going too biased towards blockchain and crypto, especially because of me being very passionate about it. But having said that, I would like to spread awareness about how blockchain is going to change the society and what is the real purpose of it. Why are we even talking about blockchain? Why are we even talking about crypto? How is it going to bring changes to our lives? So does it really have the content behind it? Does it really change things for us? So we will take a look at it, and some of these things you may have to um challenge yourself, or some of the things that we have taken it for granted. I will try and invoke some of those thought process so that you're able to understand the concept of blockchain more clearly. So yeah, I'm really glad that we're doing this first video together. I know it's been like a long term a long time dream of ours to bring something together to the general public. So really excited, and it's our first video, so really excited to be here and share my knowledge with everyone.
Yep, yep. So
So
to start with, means it'll be good that we talk very basics, okay, on how, what, from where all it started. So
yeah, I
okay,
think it'll be a good idea to just bring up my screen and
sure.
uh, okay, let me just bring up my screen. Okay, are we good? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, clear.
Okay, great. Oops. Okay, so let's just talk about how we derive trust in the society. That is, how does one person trust another person in our society? One entity trusting another entity. How does it happen? So we just need to think about that a little bit. Let's take an example of you going to a college or university to take a course, and you attend the course, you pass the course, you get a certificate, and you take that certificate to an employer, and the employer gives you a job. Now, what we really need to think about is the certificate. right? Because
Mhm.
certificate um, endorses that you have completed a course, a certain course XYZ, you have passed with certain percentage of marks, and the certificate helps you get that job. The key thing to note here is that the employer trusts that certificate, and
Mhm.
the employer thinks that that certificate is valid because the educational university has actually made sure that you have attended the course, you have attended all the classes, you have attended the exam, and the certificate gives you an approval to or endorses you that you have done the course. So the employer takes that as a the certificate as a proof that you have completed the course. So and then gives you a job. So similarly, you have a lot of centralized entities. The purpose of the centralized entities is to act as an intermediary between two parties to facilitate a transaction. So in this particular transaction, it is the educational body, the university, is acting as an intermediary between the employer and the employee, so that employer can trust that you have indeed passed the course. Similarly, you have a lot of other entities, right? You have your government bodies, which act as a uh,
Mhm.
intermediary, making sure that we are trusting a particular, facilitating the process by being a medium of trust providers, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that is our current society. That is how we are driving trust in the society. Um, do you have any? I mean,
No,
is it clear, or I mean,
yeah. That makes sense. So it's basically you're talking about having somebody and let's say a central body where currently these means the transaction or what the proof basically and all, and kind of relying on their authenticity of what they had been doing and all for multiple transactions. So here example was a university. Maybe on another example, like as I can see when it comes to the on the government side, let's say passport and our Bangalore BMC and all that that comes into
yeah,
picture,
yeah,
right? So.
yeah, exactly. It can be anything. So basically, our society has centralized bodies that act as an intermediary, so that two parties can make their transactions. It can be anything, right? It can be your real
Mhm.
estate. You are buying a property, you're going to a municipal body. They keep a record
Mhm.
of people who have bought or people who have sold. So they maintain a centralized database. They provide a trust factor that if you want to sell your property to another person, you go ahead and check in government records if you really are the owner of the property. So that information is stored in a centralized place, and they act as a trust provider so that
Mhm.
two parties can make a transaction. You will not buy a property from an individual without any documents, right?
Mhm.
You need to look at those documents, and those documents are actually provided by a government body or real estate body that holds your records and facilitates that transaction.
Yeah.
So this is what we've been doing for last, I don't know how many years, 100 years, 150 years, to facilitate
Mhm.
transactions in the society. So this has been going well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great. It's been going well. It's just been doing fantastic. Blockchain is, but there are of course issues, right? We will look at issues of what are the issues of centralized agencies, right? So
Mhm.
like we mentioned about the university example, there is a single point of failure with a
Mhm.
university. The power is centered with one authority. They basically have the right to do anything, and we trust them to do the right thing. But there are cases
Mhm.
when they don't do the right thing. They can be easily
Mhm.
influenced by a powerful body. They can be uh,
Means you mean to say those fake
you
certificate
can
and all
have
that
fake
that they've been.
certificates. Yeah, you can have fake certificates. You can bribe somebody, get things done, because the
Mhm.
power rests on that centralized authority, and they have a lot of power. They could do anything that they want.
Mhm.
And there is hardly any transparency in the centralized body as well. We don't know what really happens within the centralized body. How does certain certificates gets issued? We
mm,
have no clarity on that. So it's vulnerable to the powerful entities. Anybody can
mhm,
a person with high influence can easily manipulate the system.
mhm,
So these are the issues with the centralized authority, and basically they can do what they want, and
mhm,
we have no control over it. So that is the current structure. But I mean, there are centralized agencies. There are merits of having centralized agencies. There are, the system has been working just well, but we also have some issues. So this is the problem. This is the problem we have, and uh, blockchain is,
let me say.
yeah, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
that's where the blockchain comes, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is where the blockchain comes. So blockchain is basically trying to drive this trust system from a centralized entity to a decentralized way of driving trust through the society. And how can this be done?
What do you mean by decentralized? So here
Yeah, that
means.
yeah. So basically, like we discussed in the previous slides, you have centralized agency like a government body. You have
Mhm,
the university. Basically, they are an organization or a unit which controls the authentication of things. So in a decentralized world, there will be no centralized body. It will be decentralized, and literally decentralized. You have many people actually looking at the transactions and making sure if the transaction is valid, if somebody has really done a real estate transaction. And if
mhm,
somebody buys, suppose I buy a property from you, and that
mhm,
transaction is sent to, not to a centralized body, but 100 different people saying that I
mhm,
bought a property from PC
mhm,
on this date for this measurement and for this amount, and that information is passed to 100 different people who are not related to each other, who don't know each other, but I'm passing that information on a network, and all these 100 different people agree that that transaction to have happened. So
mhm.
so
So
that's
that's the chain which you are talking about, which we call it
correct.
as blockchain and all. So basically, not having one single entity like any of the government or let's say municipality or university having a record where where means we talked about the issues that we may have, and here we have multiple with the technology, with the network, with having multiple people taking the ownership, so that okay, that's the chain we are talking about, right? And not having one single person getting control or having control on
Yeah.
overall system.
Yeah, exactly. And it's basically it's like internet, it's blockchain, it's like an internet. Blockchain can't work without internet. So it's an internet. So what we are doing is that we are we are trying to pass the information through a network of computers, and the network of computers validate or approve to that transaction to have happened. And and once the transaction has been approved, it is basically recorded in a block. So
Mhm,
transaction gets recorded in a block, and not, there are transactions that get, there is a number of transactions that get recorded in a block, and each block can hold certain number of transactions. And once the bandwidth of that block gets filled, then the transaction moves to another block. And likewise, so you have one block after another which keeps recording the transactions in a decentralized way, trusting or validating the transactions, and people really having to, and with clear transparency. So you, if you want to view what has happened, they can actually go and look at the transactions on the chain to see if the transaction has happened. So it is evident to all, it is transparent, it is
mhm.
recorded in a block, it is recorded in a block, and a chain of blocks is called blockchain. So yeah.
Understood.
And it actually, uh, solves all the issues that we discussed in the previous
Mhm.
slides. There is no single point of failure, because if you have 100 computers validating a transaction, you are not dependent on one computer to show you the transactions. If one fails, you have other entities, actually other computers from where we can will act as a backup. And these machines are located across the globe, so you people don't even know each other, and these are computers
Mhm.
basically, and they're validating and you know validating the transactions and recording the transactions in a block. So
Good.
that's the central theme of blockchain and decentralization. Um, and this is the interesting part now. On You may ask,
Mhm.
okay, Das, you're talking about centralized to decentralized. So do you have examples of certain decentralized things that have happened in the
Yeah.
past, right? So here are the examples. Basically, Bitcoin is nothing but a you would have heard about Bitcoin, and
Mhm.
people have
Yeah.
had right a lot of questions about what is Bitcoin, and
Correct.
basically Bitcoin is nothing but decentralized money. And if you look at all the currencies across the globe, it is basically controlled by a central bank.
Mhm.
They issue the currency for each country. Central banks, they've been doing a fantastic work on
Mhm.
maintaining the currencies of different countries across the globe. It's been running well for last 100 and God knows more than 100 years. But Bitcoin is basically an example of decentralized money, where money is
Mhm.
not um, circulated into the economy from a central bank. It is actually a decentralized way of circulating money, and it is absolutely there's no border for Bitcoin. So you can, as long as you have internet, you can transfer Bitcoin from one person to another person in the globe. Yeah.
So I see some pictures and then on TV or YouTube and all where there is a coin
Hmm.
and on which there is a B written.
Yeah.
So are those physical coins that you get when you're talking about Bitcoin, and what are they made up of?
Okay, and a great question. Now, Bitcoin is digital, so you don't have. It's not like a physical gold that you can touch and feel. It
Okay.
lies within the internet, and
Hmm.
it is a symbol for Bitcoin, but it is purely digital. You can't cash it out. It's not like a currency where you can exchange between each other. It
Hmm.
resides within the internet, and you need to have internet to facilitate to transfer Bitcoin from one person to another person. So it exists
Okay. So it's
digitally.
not a
Yeah,
physical currency. It's
yeah,
more purely digital, and the symbols and all are
yeah,
also digital, basically.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So, so that's an example of decentralized money. The most important in my mind, how blockchain is evolving, is the second point which I have here is DAOs, which is called as decentralized autonomous organization. Now, DAOs are a
Hmm.
powerful way of running organizations. Um, it can be debated. We are still in the very, very early stages of DAO creation, decentralized autonomous organizations. But
Hmm.
it is a very powerful way of people coming together as a
Hmm.
community and working together for a cause and running an
Hmm.
organization. Now, DAO is exactly opposite to our traditional organizational structure. In a traditional organizational structure, you have a CEO, CFO, you have a
Hmm.
leader, and employees work. But in a DAO, people elect their leader. It's more like a democratic organization.
Hmm.
So people elect their leader, and the, so people have more say.
Hmm.
It's a way of democratic organization. So if you have democracy, you elect your leader to run the country. Here, you run an election to run an organization for you. So you have a lot
Hmm.
more say in a DAO. You have a lot more power in a DAO, and you are electing leaders to run your organization.
Hmm.
So DAO comes with charters, like how you run a country. You have a constitution, and so
Hmm.
DAO also have a charter basis which you run a DAO. What are the rules for DAO? How many months can leaders stay? When will the
Hmm.
elections be held? What will happen to the treasury,
Hmm.
etc. And it's a fantastic way to come together and collaborate. So people across the globe come together and collaborate and run an organization, which I feel is just amazing. It's a
Mhm.
magic of blockchain, where people are sitting across the globe and maybe running a VC fund, for example, or maybe
Mhm.
uh, mm, running a casino, for example. So you people come together and
Mhm.
run these organizations, and you have this opportunity to talk to the people who are actually behind the scenes running the organization, very transparent, and you can suggest your ideas. So it's a powerful way to come together and have companies on the internet run by a bunch of people across the globe. The next thing I want to talk about is DEX, which you'll start hearing, which is nothing but decentralized exchanges.
Mhm.
You have centralized exchanges like our stock market, or basically stock market is run by a centralized
Mhm.
body from regulated, which is great. I think it's fantastic. You also have you can also have decentralized exchanges where you can do things on an exchange where it is
Mhm.
not controlled by a centralized entity. There's the other one, which is called DeFi, which is decentralized finance, which is opposite to the banking system that we have. Traditional
Mhm.
banks are centralized, and blockchain gives you an ability to move from a centralized banking structure to a decentralized banking structure where everything is controlled by the code and the programs, and you don't have to rely on a centralized uh, entity, right? So as you would have
Mhm.
seen, the decentralization means that you are actually moving away from a intermediary. Like if you look at centralized entities, you're making your transaction through an intermediary. Here it's a centralized. If you look at exchanges, it is an intermediary. If you look at bank, it is an intermediary. So in DeFi or in a DEX or in a DAO, you're basically removing the intermediary. So it is basically peer to peer. You don't need a intermediary. So it's basically removing the middleman in the process. Uh,
So, so in a nutshell, if I
mhm,
have to, if what I understood
mhm,
from all the
mhm,
example that you mentioned, that blockchain
mhm,
is nothing but uh, trying to decentralize all aspect
mhm,
of exchanges that
mhm.
we are currently doing, or all aspect of transaction that we are doing right now through internet,
Yeah,
with the help of internet. So
yeah.
online, all everything that can be done online,
Mhm,
how we, and that is currently in the current society, which is monitored or governed centrally or by an entity, or by an individual probably, how we can how we can give control to the people, to the
correct.
public, and then
Yeah,
we basically
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, challenges with the decentralization. It's not all that hunky dory all the time. Um, when you get rid of when you move away from centralized agencies, basically you are in possession of your own things. Say, for example, you want to move from a centralized banking sector to a decentralized banking sector.
Mhm.
Herein you are actually with the bank takes the custody of your funds, and you can sleep peacefully in nights that your funds is safe with the bank, and if anything goes wrong with the banks are responsible for refunding that, uh, what do you say, to refund your funds. But when it comes to decentralization, it is all about you owning your money, and you're
Mhm.
keeping that money in your own wallet if something goes wrong with your wallet. So you can take example of your physical wallet, right? The wallet that you carry with you,
Mhm.
and then you basically collect the money in your physical wallet, and you if somebody happens to steal your wallet, it's gone. Bank is not going to be
Mhm.
responsible for that wallet because you lost it. Somebody
Mhm.
stole the wallet from your pocket. So it is similar to that. You can consider physical online wallet to be your physical wallet. Similar to
Mhm.
your physical wallet is going to be online wallet. So you're going to keep your funds, your assets within your possession, and that is the um, heart of crypto. But with that comes a lot of risk, so you have to make sure that you manage your online wallet very carefully and don't lose funds. um,
Mhm.
and like I mentioned before, DAOs are initially, it is still in the process of being evolved. So there is when a group of people get together, there is a lot of chaos and uncertainties. With no clear direction, people would like to do their own thing. Lack of proper guidelines can lead to chaos. um, and governments may not be very happy, right? They're not very happy to let go of a lot of centralized agencies, and it is fair on their part that. And to be honest, banks are, whenever I have transacted with a bank, or whenever I've used my card, uh, yeah, almost 99.99% of the times they do a great job in recording the transaction. They do a fabulous job in giving me peace in the night that my funds are safe. There is hardly any time we lose anything from our bank. So it is a fantastic system from a security perspective. And so these things could be debated whether do we go for decentralization for everything in the society,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
should it be a combination of some sectors may be ripe for decentralization, while some others it's better we just let it run the way it is. After all, it has served us for so many years with the centralized structure. So yeah, so with that, blockchain is just concluding. What is a blockchain? Blockchain is nothing but a decentralized network of computers that helps in validating and securely recording the transactions in blocks, hence the name blockchain. So any
Mhm.
transaction that you do, uh, e- any event that happens, and if you put it on a network of computers, where the network of computers can validate the transaction and record it in a block, and chain of blocks is called blockchain. So decentralized network of computers validating transactions and recording it in a secure way,
Mhm.
is blockchain. So yeah, I think this is quite a big load of things that we covered for our first episode. I think we did a
Yeah.
reasonably good job with